welcome. My name is Rachel Miller. I'm the Regional Director of Scientific Partnerships here in North Carolina, although I'm talking to you in Boston, Massachusetts. So welcome to everybody. If I haven't spoken to you before, to everyone across the state and the country, we are so happy you joined us. This will be recorded, so if you are joining late, if you have to leave early, don't worry, a copy of this recording will be sent out to you automatically after we're through here. And as we move throughout the presentation, feel free to drop some questions in the questions box over on your right side of the panel, and we'll get to those at the end of our demo here today. So over the next 15-20 minutes, I'm going to walk through some of the work that we're doing here at Labster, give you an idea of how we've been supporting institutions across the country, across the globe, and help you envision how this could help support you in what you're doing. So please feel free to drop questions as we go along here, because really this time is about you. We really established this platform in our science courseware as a way to help you as teachers, as faculty, better connect with your students. STEM education, STEM learning has its challenges, and if we can present a platform that you can use as a tool in your toolbox that better equips you to engage with your students and help them understand the concepts you're introducing, then it gives you a better chance at being successful in what you do. And obviously, the main goal of your jobs, what we're here to do, is to see our students succeed and stay on track in their courses. A little bit of the background here I wanted to share with you about where we began. We actually were founded by our lovely Dr. Bodeker, and he was a PhD student in charge of intro labs. And what he was seeing from his students in the wet lab was that they were showing up pretty unprepared or disengaged. Maybe they understood the concepts, but they weren't able to analyze them or put it in their own words. If there was another variable that changed, they didn't know how to react to it. So what this said was that, although they were able to move throughout the course, what were they actually getting out of it? And how do we help students better connect with science as it applies to the real world? This vision for Labster was really to bridge the gap between classroom learning and how we experience science in the real world. This vision predated the unique challenges brought on by the pandemic. There have always been common challenges in teaching and learning, especially in STEM, as I'm sure you all can attest to, and Labster was created to help overcome them. Since 2013, we've grown rapidly, with a catalog of over 200 simulations covering a variety of different disciplines, including biology, chemistry, A&P, physics. And we've been able to help over 3 million students to help them stay on track in their courses. Classroom walls, time, funds, and restricted access, especially to wet labs, can often limit the potential of science learning, but virtually anything can be simulated, from lab safety to practicing complex techniques like pipetting. Just like a pilot in training needs to perform flight simulations before they can actually fly, students can practice required techniques, demonstrate understanding before moving on. Even scenarios that can't be done in the real world can be simulated, like building molecules. Ultimately, it gives students the opportunity to try and retry experiments in a safe, cost-effective way. I think typically on this next slide is where we get a lot of feedback from faculty we speak with, and hear from you about the ways that you see this being an impact in your courses, or what changes or what challenges you're hoping to see or make. These are all of some of the most common obstacles we see and hear from faculty that we speak to, who've chosen to use Labster to help overcome a lot of these. Accessibility is such a strong hot topic right now, an area to improve skill mastery. Some something that we can improve upon with practice and giving students more access to the lab, giving them access to tools, solutions that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. There's so many regulations and red tape on what students and what faculty can incorporate into their labs. Uh, but I think the biggest thing too is that we hear a lot is that conceptual understanding that students often miss. Maybe they can do well on a test. They can regurgitate the information that they've learned, but do they know the real potential of what they put on paper? Do they understand what this means for them in science as it applies to our surroundings? And that's been missing in so much of STEM education, and probably one of the reasons why we don't see as many scientists as we need pursuing science tracks or staying on course. Or, and if we can help contribute to helping students stay on track in their courses, that really does make a huge impact. I'm going to talk through some of the features of our platform here as I play a video that compiles some of our simulations so you can get an idea, a visual look into what it is like in this world. The platform actually contains, as I mentioned, over 200 simulations. Each is a gamified case study covering 1 to 2 lectures and 1 lab practical session, typically taking anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to complete. Each simulation is built around a storyline that links abstract theories and lab techniques to a real world application right there in their web browser. So, as a student, I will be required to complete every step that I would in a real wet lab. In doing so, learning lab protocol, putting on my goggles, my lab coat, keeping my workbench clean. And if I don't do these things properly, in comes opportunity for productive failure, to see the repercussions of my mistakes in a controlled environment. Throughout the simulation, I will be prompted with quiz questions from my virtual lab pad, and they act as checkpoints for the knowledge I'm intended to retain. If I don't answer these questions correctly, I can consult the theory tab that links directly with open stacks, all from my virtual lab pad. Read the theory and return to the question more informed to attempt it again and answer it correctly. Once the simulation is complete, a grade is automatically generated based on my score. So you'll have a grade in your grade book. If you use a learning management system, Moodle, Blackboard, whatever it might be, we integrate seamlessly with it. So you'll have a grade there, but you'll also have some pretty impactful information that perhaps you might not be getting right now, like what concepts or which questions most of the students are really having a difficult time with. And you'll be able to use that information accordingly and perhaps adjust your learning plan to adapt to the students' needs. Next, I wanted to take you on a little tour of our faculty resource page. This is basically like a sandbox environment of all of our content, where we send faculty who set up individual meetings with their reps in their states to pilot out some of these simulations themselves. And really, this is the best way to get a sense of the student experience and what and how this could impact your course and your students. So if you've never tried one of our simulations before, I encourage you all to reach out to the rep in your area to do so. I'll show you what it looks like because I want to show you the breadth of content that we offer. Now, this platform, again, isn't the full capacity of the platform once it would be integrated into your learning management systems. But what it does is allow you the opportunity to look at the content, start thinking about how it aligns with the course objectives that you have, with the rigor for the type of students that you have as well. On the first page, you'll be able to see anything new at Labster, and we've added quite a bit just since the beginning of this year. One of the things faculty were really asking for, and we delivered upon this past January, were mini simulations. And these are basically stripped down versions of simulations that really delve into specific techniques or specific concepts. So faculty can lean on these inside their lecture hall and be able to perform them with their students in real time. Uh, Basically, just a way of demonstrating a specific concept rather than a full breadth of our simulation, which hits on a lot and is very experiential. Now, we also drew out a lot of our video and animations that are within our simulations because faculty have really found those 3D visualizations when you're looking at something at a molecular level very helpful for students. But students didn't always necessarily need to go throughout an entire simulation to be able to benefit from those. So we withdrew those and added them as another section to our courseware. So in addition to virtual simulations, there's a lot of features that come with access to Labster that you can use as tools in your toolbox as you teach your courses. If I click on simulations, here is where you'll find the list of disciplines that we cover. Now, faculty who use us, let's say you're a biology teacher or a Gen Chem teacher, there's a lot of crossover. So you're not restricted to looking at any particular tab or choosing simulations with only in one particular tab. You can really customize whichever simulations fit the topics that you want to teach into your course throughout a given semester. You'll be able to see all of our simulations listed here, A to Z, if you come to the complete course package too. Opening up any of the disciplines that we offer, for example, Gen Bio 1 and 2, I can come to a particular simulation and click on it to open it up. And once I do that, I'll have a number of different options I can do. I can play the simulation for myself. I can also look at the lab manual or lab report that accompany that particular simulation. I can also read the theory that accompanies the simulation that's embedded within it. So you'll be able to access this. Your students will be able to access the theory that links directly with OpenStax, by the way, even outside of the simulation. So they can refer back to it if they need it. A lot of faculty have actually begun to replace textbooks because the theory linking directly with OpenStax replaces a lot of that need. You'll be able to see the quiz questions in advance as well by opening this tab here. If I click on a simulation here, I can actually play a recording of a colleague of mine going through the simulation. So I can fast forward it, pause it. As a faculty member, maybe you don't want to go through an entire simulation yourself in order to assign it. So you can just watch a recording of it to evaluate it, make sure it's in line with what your needs are, and see what it covers. You'll see that a lot of the simulations start off in this way, inside the lab, and then we begin to draw the storyline. We set the stage for the why behind what we're doing, and that is so important in STEM. We need to understand that we're not going through the motions. There's a need and actual purpose to the experiments we're doing and what we're hoping to achieve. And in this case, we're speaking with basketball captains today, and one of them is really underperforming, out of character, and we got to find out why. So we're speaking with them, and we ultimately are going to take blood samples from him and take it back to the lab for evaluation. Once we're back in the lab, we'll have to follow all the necessary protocol, just like we would in a real lab, putting on our goggles, our work coat. Now we're at our workbench. And as you see, I'm just prompted with a quiz question that is relevant to the task at hand or the concept at hand. So I'm able to make that instant connection between what I'm doing and the knowledge I'm supposed to be taking with me. And that really dually serves for the knowledge recall later on. And we've done a lot of research on that. And as you can see here, now we're at our workstation. We're going to be able to do anything that you can imagine you would in a real lab, manipulating glucose levels, lactic acid levels, and really try to determine how we can make our basketball player perform better in the game today. You'll see here now we're at the hollow table. We're looking at a molecular visualization, and it's something that we can't even do in a real lab setting, a real wet lab setting often. And being able to see something up close and personal like this really helps delve into really what's going on underneath the surface in a lot of ways. So that's just a quick glimpse about one of the simulations that we offer. I hope that was exciting to see for some of you if you haven't seen it already. But as I mentioned, I strongly encourage you, if you haven't actually tried a simulation yourself, reach out to a rep in your area. You can just go on to our website and it'll connect you with the appropriate rep, so you can play a simulation or two to really get the full experience. There's a lot of different ways we see faculty building science courseware for Labster into their courses. Uh, Obviously, this past year, we had a lot of teachers needing to have a lab component where they otherwise couldn't access one. They couldn't access a real lab. So we became a lab replacement, which we never set out to do. Most of our faculty, in fact, about 95% of our faculty who used us prior to the pandemic, and they used us as a pre-lab. It's really effective way to, again, bridge that gap between a lecture and help students prepare for wet lab experience. So you can really spend your time in the wet lab as a coach. Your students are now showing up more prepared, now more engaged. They understand what this experiment means, how it relates to a real world application, and you can really spend your time, whether it's 2 or 3 hours a week with them, more effectively as they are engaged and prepared for you. We also see a lot of faculty using this in a flipped classroom format too, which is really effective. And we see, if you present, if you're a lecturer and you're presenting a particular topic, you can then go assign a simulation that corresponds to it. So students can then connect the dots between what you presented to them, and get a better understanding of it and be able to play a more active role in that learning. As we know, as faculty, it's so important to deliver as many different learning to deliver upon so many different learning styles that we can. We don't have the time or resources to really be able to do that. You deliver the integral parts of, audio, reading, and the lecture piece of it. But one piece that is often missing is their practice doing, which we hope that they get in a wet lab. But is it enough to do it once and see it in one format? If we can give students more of an opportunity to play an active role in their learning, it really makes an impact. And we've done a lot of research that demonstrates the effectiveness of simulations when paired with you in a traditional lecture format. We never want this to replace, and it never could replace the role of lecture in wet lab. It really is here to help make those experiences more effective. As you can see, with traditional teaching, we had a subgroup, and then we also had a subgroup of simulation learning only. And in the third subgroup, we combined both lecture and simulation. And in this last subgroup, the learning outcomes doubled. Perhaps maybe even more profound is that we tested these students 40 days later after they completed the course. And consistently, the students were able to retain nearly all of the information that they learned with simulation and lecture learning combined. And I think that lends to, if you're able to interact with something, perhaps now you're more responsible for that knowledge. And if you're able to relate to it in a personal way, now it has meaning to you, and now you're engaged. And that helps with recall. You don't remember something that doesn't interest you, of course. Might do well on the test, as I know I was guilty of, just regurgitating information. But STEM is really something that, as you all know, builds upon knowledge. You need the knowledge you learn in your first year, your last, and into your career. So it's very important that students are able to build upon these foundational skills and concepts. So that wraps up our demonstration for Labster today. I really want to thank all of you for joining. I hope this was helpful. And again, I can't stress enough, I would encourage all of you to try a simulation out yourself and check out the content too, and be able to measure how that aligns with the specific subjects you teach, because you're the expert in your course. And you can do that by reaching out to the rep in your area to do that. But I hope this was helpful, give you an idea of the work that we're doing here, and how we're making an impact for students. I'm going to hang tight here for the next 10 minutes and welcome any questions that come through. And I'll answer them to you all as well. So there's a question, enter it into the questions box on the tab you have open, and I'll hang tight waiting for those to roll in and address them as they come. Okay, let's see. I've got a question here. I have tried to search the simulations available for food engineering, and the search engine does not find anything. What can I do? So a lot of the titles, this is a great question, of the simulations don't always encompass the entirety, all of the concepts, all of the techniques that are embedded within the simulation and that are learned. One thing that you can do is go to the complete course package and be able to search that way. There's a PDF. If I go here, I'll actually show it to you. You can download a PDF summary that will actually say in a little bit more detail what the simulations in this category cover. So that might be helpful. If you're still having trouble, we offer custom course mapping here. So by actually setting up a time to speak with the rep in your area, he or she can offer custom course mapping. So you can provide your syllabus, and we can map out the simulations that support each subject that you teach every week. So you can really get a visual for how this could fit in to what you're doing. I have another question here. Any plans to implement VR, virtual reality, for the lab simulations? Great question. We actually began as a VR type of format. We are now all web-based because, for a number of different reasons, the VR headset that we used was actually Google's, and they had retired it. But it came at a good time because VR is very expensive. As a mission-based company, we really want to, we're in the business of getting this in the hands of as many students as possible and delivering quality educational experiences as often as we can. And VR is somewhat limiting in that way from a cost perspective, but I think as the technology grows, it might be something that's more feasible for institutions to invest in, and something that's always on the table for us. All right, another question here. How many times can students access the quizzes? And I think is the limitation of how many attempts can be made set by the faculty. So you do have autonomy over how many attempts students get to try a simulation. Once you assign a simulation, which you can do directly from your learning management system, you will be able to see once the simulation is completed. But you can also adjust how many attempts are allowed. Most faculty allow multiple attempts because it only encourages their learning, and we on average see that students are performing the simulations voluntarily 2.3 times. That's because they're enjoying them. They're going back and doing them over and over again. But you can also elect which attempt that you would like to qualify, whether it's an average of all of them, the last attempt, or the first attempt. It's up to you. Great question. All right, some more questions here. All right. Will the simulations work with Chromebooks? They do work with Chromebooks and Surfaces. Yes. Other than that, desktop, laptop, using Google Chrome or Firefox are the the required browsers to use. And basically, if students can download a YouTube video, they have the capacity to move throughout a simulation. It's all front loaded. So if students need to, go to get lunch, if they have a part-time job, they can go do that, return to their simulation, all their progress is saved. Okay, let's see. Are there techniques such as gas chromatography or instrumental analytical chemistry? And where can I find it? Yes. Yep, there absolutely is. And again, you can search in the chemistry sections, either of the chemistry, either general chemistry, intro to chemistry, or beyond, to be able to look at that. And again, one of the best tools is that custom course mapping. You can take advantage of to do that. And you can download that PDF summary here to be able to do a control find and be able to search more specifically for any specific technique or concept that you're looking to cover. Great questions. Got a couple more here. So looks like somebody has a question regarding access and what type of access would be best for them. And really that's a conversation that it varies and depends on your needs. A lot of institutions we're seeing are incorporating Labster as a site-wide access. So they're purchasing a license that all of their science faculty can use, as opposed to having their students pay per course and per semester like they would a textbook. If an institution would like to purchase a site-wide license, that grants access to the entire institution for the entire year. So it becomes much more cost effective for the university, the students, the high school, whatever it might be. It is definitely a really good option if it makes sense for your needs. It is not, the simulations and the platform is not compatible with Mac. And in other words, you'd want to use Google Chrome or Firefox for simulations and to launch the browser. Another question regarding setup, is sign in to the website required, or does it integrate into Canvas, a learning management system? Once it's integrated into your learning management system, you do not have to sign on again. So it makes it very easy. We have enough passwords to remember these days, so that's one less one that you have to worry about. Okay. Excellent. Any other questions? And if you purchase access, I think this might help answer another question that had come up. Your access is determined by the level of usage that you'd like to have. Most faculty use full access, which gives them access to all of the simulations within our platform. But if you need fewer, you might consider something like the starter access. Even with the starter access, you're able to pick whichever simulations you want, up to 5. With full access, you have access to all of them, of course. Oh, you're so welcome. No, my pleasure. So on the website, if you're looking, we have a couple of questions about where to find your local rep. You can go to the website and just fill out a try now form, and a rep will contact you, who will link you up based on what institution or what high school or educational facility you're a part of, and we'll link the corresponding rep to what your needs are in your area. And we have a question regarding translations. Are there simulations in Spanish, at least for the students? Yes, there are. We are actually in the process of making all of our simulations available in Spanish, Italian, French, Portuguese. We have, I think, about 40 right now translated into Spanish. It's a big job, but they're working diligently and making some great progress on translating all of them. Excellent. All right, everyone. Well, that wraps up our webinar today. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And please let us know what we can do to help. We're here for you, and looking forward to any opportunity we can to help support you and your students going forward.